We want young women to step confidently into leadership, past the inner critic, and make that change that they envision for their schools and communities, because we underestimate young people. They are amazing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You interview series. It's Gary here. Thank you very, very much, as always, for taking the time to join me. And today I'm joined by founder and executive director of DemocraShe, Sarah Jakle, who is here to discuss her non-profit work to empower underserved high school girls to embrace civic engagement and see political office as their birthright. Sarah has devoted her career to nurturing courage and resilience. Her approach incorporates evidence-based brain science to help women access practical tools like Inner Best Friend and Inner Champion, encouraging authenticity and composure rather than performance. With a national audience of over 6,000 women activists and leaders, DemocraShe is dedicated to inspiring and empowering female-identifying high school students to become future elected leaders. They encourage young women to elevate their voices through self-advocacy, civic engagement, and community building, empowering a new generation of intersectional female activists, advocates, and elected officials. Now, this is absolutely fascinating to me. I had the opportunity to chat prior to recording with Sarah, and the story behind this and the inspiration and the intent behind this was for me literally mind-blowing. Such courageous, important work that is out there. So I cannot wait for today's conversation. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Gary, for having me.
I'm absolutely thrilled. And it's been a wee while. We were just chatting prior to recording here. It's been a wee while since we first met till we get the opportunity to record. So I'm looking forward to finding out what happened in the time in between. But as I like to do in the beginning is to start by give me a little bit of an overview of your story, your life story, your career story that inspired DemocraShe and got you to where you're at right now.
Yes, thank you for that question. It was a winding journey that ended up exactly where I was supposed to be. So I was a social worker. I worked in direct service with our homeless community dealing with mental illness. I received a master's in public policy to fight for them because it made me very angry how they were treated. But then I missed my clients. So I went back and then I got a master's in social work, and I got a master's in social work with a military focus because there was so much trauma in the community. And the military at the time when I got my degree were the only people really studying trauma and what the brain goes through when it goes through adversity. And I was thrilled. If you'll let me work with underserved veterans, I would love to study PTSD. So then, just as I am launching this career, in 2014, a very, very kind rheumatologist told me that I had a brutal autoimmune disease called psoriatic arthritis. That because of the pain and fatigue associated with the disorder, that I would never work again. And it was crushing. And I did, Gary, live for 2 years on a couch with my puppy dog, Max. But as I faced this challenge, I thought, I can't control the pain and I can't control the fatigue, but I can control who I am in this moment and how I show up. And all the things that I have studied are now real. So I got really into the brain and studying the neuroscience of trauma and the neuroscience of adversity. I studied the different modalities of how human beings have overcome adversity. And there's so much research on it. There's so many evidence-based practices. And when the election of 2016 happened in the US, I said, I am not sitting on a couch anymore. And I took all of this research that I've been doing just to kind of show up for as who I wanted to be. And I turned it into practical brain hacks to help me just get in the car, just drive there, just register one voter. And I did that so many times that I became a national outreach director for a voter registration group called Field Team 6. I was recruited to be the Get Out the Vote director for the California National Organization for Women. Things that I thought I would never achieve, but by doing these brain hacks, I was able to get there. And it was in that role, it was in the role of Get Out the Vote director of the California National Organization for Women, that I saw Gary, amazing, brilliant, accomplished women couldn't see themselves as candidates for office, whereas men tended to self-select in. And when women did step into public service, Facebook in 2020 found that female candidates got up to 10 times more harassment and bullying than male candidates. Congress in the United States of America is only 28% women. If we want more women, we have to look at the inflection moments where women opt out and where women get kicked out because of what they are facing. And so I thought, I have literally, unbeknownst to myself, trained my whole life for this. I have been studying how human beings step out of comfort zones, how they go through adversity, how they challenge themselves to be the best selves, even when they're facing adversity. And so I created DemocraShe for high school girls, which teaches not only practical public policy skills to be engaged, informed civic and elected leaders, but the evidence-based social work skills to overcome the barriers we know they face on that journey.
Absolutely incredible. Like, what an incredible journey. And to use the inspiration or the catalyst of your illness as the foundation of you, using that suffering as the foundation of this can't be it, that there has to be something else. What can I do? And then using these micro actions to take micro steps to getting towards that. And then the one key thing that's so fascinating for me, Sarah, is I see a lot of groups out there, a lot of people out there doing some wonderful work with groups today in any facet of life. There's wonderful things that are happening all the time. But typically what they're doing is they're meeting people right now, today. You know, this is the version of Sarah that I am chatting with today. And you and I will work together. I'm a coach and I will help you get to where you want to be by unlocking barriers and having the various conversations that we'll have. And that's great. And I love doing that, and it's very impactful. You're taking a step back and saying that there's actually more effect or affect that I can have if I go to, if I could say, the source, which, when young women of high school age are at the spot where they're saying, right, I'm not 100% sure what's next for me. Where should I go? What would have the biggest impact? What would be the most appropriate fit for me? You then targeted them. How did that decision come around to go back?
Yeah. So first of all, I love that you bring up coaching, because I'm a huge fan of coaches. And many of the executive and incredible women who were considering candidacy worked with coaches. And a lot of them were saying to me, I wish I knew these skills in high school, because coaching is incredible. You're trying to help people recover the confidence they have lost through being in the workplace and taking what life throws at them.
Yes.
What if we could get to young people and just never let them lose the confidence in the first place? I was really inspired by Bishop Desmond Tutu, who said, and I'm paraphrasing, but we can't just pick up the logs that fall in the river at the end. We have to stop them from falling in.
Yes.
So thinking of high school is actually the last time boys and girls think they can run for office equally, which is a proxy for young women's confidence. And then it tends to drop like 8 times faster for women than men. So thinking of that as an inflection point, I think a lot about inflection points, but an inflection point where instead of losing them and then having to restart them later in life, we just keep them sprinting ahead.
And how do you think that is? What happens after high school? Or why do you think that is? How and why do you think that is after high school that we have this 8 times quicker drop off between the ability or the thought pattern of I have the ability and the opportunity to be able to do this type and style of work?
There are a lot of trains of thought on why this happens. One is like teenage girls, high school girls are starting to really take in their surroundings. They are looking at the pictures on the wall. They are looking at the pictures coming out of Congress. They are seeing a lack of women and a lack of the radiant spectrum that makes up women. And they internalize that. This is not for me. This is not my place, right? This is not where I belong, because they're seeing it bombarded all around them. And I think the other thing is young men tend to get encouraged toward political office. Women have to be recruited and aren't as similarly recruited. Women of color are often discouraged from running. So I think there is a bunch of forces happening, including perfectionism. So
Right.
we really see perfectionism rear its ugly head in high school and college. And women are socialized to only go after things if they can do it perfectly. We see that reflected in the statistic that a lot of people know, right? That men will go for a promotion if they meet 50% of the
Yeah.
requirements. Women will go for a promotion if they meet 100% of requirements. And that's something a lot of coaches are working with women on, right?
Yeah.
So we need to get to girls early. The DemocraShe motto is you can't do it wrong. You can't do it wrong, because no matter what, you learn. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So we're
Yeah.
trying to change that orientation from I have to be perfect, I can only try it if I'm perfect, to kind of where our young men are, which is young men are encouraged to try, fail, try again, fail, try again, right? That kind of flexibility, psychological flexibility. We want to instill that in our young women as well.
Yeah. And it's so profound what you said there in terms of the direct and the indirect influences, through who they're literally watching on TV as being the representatives of whomever it is that they're watching in terms of, the government opportunities and actions and such like that. And then the the actual things that would happen to them where they're just discouraged or not encouraged to pursue opportunities and such, and then it gets to that point where it's normalized. It's probably normalized in a lot of people where they're just saying that's just not a path I would consider because I don't see anyone like me on that path, and it doesn't really seem like something that would be for me. And it's so interesting, Sarah, because I teach at a local university here in Calgary, and it's an undergraduate class. So just a wee bit, just not much, but just a wee bit older than the high school students that we have. For the most part, there's the odd mature person that's there, but for the most part, that they're just out of high school, and this is a first university endeavor. And I use a lot of my coaching skills and abilities and phrases and such to say, okay, folks, I am specifically talking to the women in the class now, and I use that exact example to say what would discourage you from applying for a job, and here's a stat, and there's various percentages out there, but the the the, the intent is the same, where men are just saying, I'm going to go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen? And women have a different thought pattern where they're thinking, I can't, I won't, I shouldn't. What if? What happens? What would that look like for me? How would I feel? And such. And I spend as much time as I possibly can saying, not to discourage the men from doing anything, but to say, we've got it kind of easy and we're doing okay, but look where you are. Look at the work that you've done to get to this spot in your life right now, and you're now just about to embark on the first major career move that you have. Do it with gusto, do it with confidence, do it with intent, celebrate yourself, make mistakes, don't take it too seriously, have some fun, make some relationships, grow. And I have to say, the feedback that I get, the direct feedback, and the literal leaning in and the listening, and I haven't really heard it put that way before. It's inspiring and encouraging to do even more. However, there's that wee part of me that's thinking, why is this the first time you're hearing this? Or why is this the first time you're hearing this in this way? So that's why I think your story is so fascinating, where you're saying this is the point. A little bit early might be too early. This is the sweet spot of saying you have more option and opportunity than you think you do. We need you. Have you considered this? Here are some growth opportunities, and here is a path that you can take. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing that, Gary. That's amazing. I would say you're reminding me of two particular things. One is you are what DemocraShe would call an inner best friend.
Ah,
And one of the things we teach the girls, because we're all very familiar with the inner critic. It's not
yeah,
your turn. It's not your time. It won't work out. Right. And that's part of the survival brain. And it's very hard to shift her because she is part of the survival brain. Right. And she wants to keep you alive. She doesn't care if you're happy. So we
yeah,
teach the girls to access an ally called inner best friend. And it can be anyone in their life. For many of the women in your class, it would be you, who would be that encouraging voice, who's that encouraging, supportive, kind voice. And we teach the girls to say, when they're noticing imposter syndrome come up or nerves come up, what would my inner best friend say? Because the inner best friend is, you can do it. You've got this. Why not? There was one particular girl, Gary, who'd gone through DemocraShe, who was studying people who had been disappeared in Colombia and telling their stories. And she wanted to apply for an Obama fellowship to do this research. And I talk about inflection points. She started to fill out the application and her inflection point came up. And the inner critic spoke so loudly and said, "You'll never get this. So many people apply. It's not even worth it. Like, don't even bother." But she had DemocraShe training. So, one is she grounded, which is you settle your nervous system and come back into your body. But two, she said, "What would my inner best friend say here?" Much like a Gary who said, "What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
yeah.
Go for it. And you're amazing. Your research is amazing. Let's submit the application." So she got through the inflection point, submitted it, and she won. And she is
Wow.
now an Obama fellow, which is an incredible accomplishment. I'm so proud of her. I am equally proud of her for navigating that moment where she was going to opt out. And
Yeah.
I think women are trained in that inflection moment to opt out. It's not my turn. It's not my time. I'm not ready. I'm not perfect. So, one is inner best friend, which you are to your students. And the other about not seeing themselves reflected. In DemocraShe, our students go through the program. So these radiant, diverse high school girls, and then they immediately come back and lead it. So our program is high school and college girls leading high school girls
Yeah.
because you immediately see yourself. You immediately see the phrase, "you can't be what you can't see." You immediately see girls who are implementing these skills to take action in their school and community, who train you in their own inner best friend and how they use it around tests and how they use it around APs and applying to college. And you can see yourself reflected in leadership because the room looks just like you. And in the developmental stage of high school, peer to peer training is much more effective than if I showed up.
Yeah.
So I think building in both that encouraging Gary voice so that girls can access it and take it with them, and also building in that they can see immediately what leadership looks like if it looks just like them.
Yeah. I love that near peer model where there's just that connection that's already there. They're just a wee bit ahead, so it's not someone who's decades ahead. Where you can then use that as an inner critic to say, "I'll never get there. It's okay for you. Look at all that. Look at everything you've got. Look at everything." Yes, well, it's taken decades to get to that. But that can create distance. It can create a barrier in between the actual messaging in and of itself. It's such genius to be able to have the the, the machine feed itself. That that is not my dog. I can hear
Just,
the dog barking.
that is my puppy dog. Yes.
I love it. I love it. So then is in democracy, what does that model look like? Is it the same for all? Are there different tracks and paths that you can take?
Yeah, so there are a couple different tracks because high school girls are very busy.
Hmm.
So we have a 10-week program of 2 hours a week. We have a 1 day intensive, which we run mainly during the summer. And on our website, we have a self directed program where you can go at your own pace with these dynamic videos of, high school girls so that you can also go through that way and then connect to girls on the other side and connect to the community and alumni programming. Two things. One is all of our programs are online
Right.
because we want girls from all over to be able to talk to each other, right? So not just I'm in California, not just girls in California, but girls all over the country to share their lived experiences, to share what they are going through so we understand what women are going through all over the country. And so right now we're in 42 states and 42 states are represented. And the other thing is we pay our students a stipend. So a lot of early, especially early political pipeline opportunities tend to be unpaid internships. And that just means that if you can't afford an unpaid internship, you don't get access to like early civic engagement, these leadership training. So I will tell you, people told me I was insane as a young nonprofit to pay my students. But I think we have to be consciously thinking about barriers to entry. What are barriers to entry to leadership and civic engagement? And what is I can't do unpaid internships? Two is there's nothing around me, right? There's nothing immediately around me that supports me. So girls can just open their phone or computer and connect to this very supportive sisterhood with specific skills to turn around and then make action in their local community.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest barrier for someone even getting involved in democracy? Like from people who've eventually made the leap to come in and maybe possibly said something like, I've been thinking about this for so long and I didn't think it was for me. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I would be accepted. Do you see other patterns of barriers where that is preventing young women from getting involved or becoming interested?
Well, the good news is we get 7 times more applications than we can currently manage. So a
Wow.
ton of girls are applying.
Yeah.
I definitely hear from girls who get into the program, I didn't think I would be accepted, right? I wasn't sure leadership was for me. So I know for all the girls, even though we get, for 100 spots, we have 600 applicants. But even when that happens, I know some girls are hitting that inflection point on the application and opting out.
Right.
And I love the girls who get through just to tell themselves to apply, just to tell themselves to opt in. I want to spread DemocraShe clubs at schools. So ultimately, we can reach girls who aren't able to apply, who can't bring themselves to apply. And we can reach all those girls with the same inflection moment skills to help them opt into their ambition, protect themselves from the pushback they get when they step into leadership roles, so that we're finding different ways to reach girls without making them apply. Because you're right? If part of the problem is imposter syndrome, there are girls who hit our application, have imposter syndrome, and don't apply. So
Hmm.
that's how we're trying to address that, is spreading DemocraShe clubs.
Yeah, I love that idea. And you mentioned you're in 42 states. There's a plan to be in 50 at some point.
We would love to expand to be in 50.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And is that part of the strategy and the plan to go forward, or is there something that's in the way of that for right now?
The only thing that's in the way is because we are a stipend model and expanding, it is just funding. We are
Yeah,
a 501c3 nonprofit, right? So we depend on contributions. So it's really having people believe in the organization enough to fund us that we can keep expanding the stipends and keep admitting more girls. My program director, Gary, keeps sending me these emails that are like, all of the applications are incredible. We have to admit them all. And I
yeah,
would ultimately like to turn no girl away. I would
yeah.
like every girl to get a yes an enthusiastic yes from us. So
Yeah.
that is my job, is to help us scale.
Yeah. And for the girls who are unsuccessful due to sheer funding and volume and such, what happens to them? Is there still an engagement model? Is that the clubs that you're referring to? Is there some other sort of engagement that you have with those folks?
Yeah. So the clubs for sure. One of the reasons we developed in 2023, we spent a lot of money and we invested in a self-directed program that's a fixed asset on our website. So we've done
Yeah.
the work, it exists, and it is completely free. So any girl who we have to turn away, we direct to the self-directed program because she gets the
Yeah.
same content. She doesn't get the right peer leaders and she doesn't get the being able to talk to the girls in the room, but there are community boards in the self-directed program. So girls are talking to each other and they are still learning, right? Inner best friend. They're learning to call their representatives. They're learning to co-sponsor bills. They're still getting a lot of the civic engagement content and the evidence-based social work content. We have tons of girls. I mean, we just this summer had 500 girls sign up at the beginning of the summer. So that is a place where any girl can go and get the content for free.
Wonderful. Yeah. One of my big fears is, you make the leap, you make the application, and then because of sheer volume, you don't hear anything back. And then
Oh, that never happens.
when you
That
don't hear
never
anything back,
happens.
you make up stories about why
Yeah,
that is.
that we would never do. That we would never do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. It's so important in any walk of life, not simply for young women, for anyone. I've always said, and I say that to my son, every single application should be met with a response, like a meaningful response, not a canned, computer generated something or other that says you were unsuccessful or we're not proceeding with your application or something. And with AI now, that should be possible for many organizations to be able to do that, to say, here's some meaningful feedback based on what it is. It's not for right now. It's not a no forever. Please don't hesitate to come back. And then, as you say, directing them to the free resources so they have access to what that is. I just love that. I love that. It's so important in terms
It's
of
important.
engagement and in terms of genuine meaning and feeling to the organization, to say, as you said, we want 100% of the people to be successful. Right now, it's not possible to do that, but let's keep in dialogue, let's keep in touch, and you never know where an injection of funding can come from.
And the other thing is, any girl who goes through the online program is connected to the same exact alumni community as any other DemocraShe student. So
Yeah.
she has access. We always have, careers in law or careers in STEM, or Gretchen Whitmer, who's the governor of Michigan, came to speak to the girls. We have, what to expect from college. 70% of our students are first gen Americans. So what should you bring to college, right? Support applying to college. So any girl who goes through any aspect, including the online, has access to the full range of alumni programming.
Incredible. Thus far in the journey of DemocraShe, what's one of the main successes? I know you spoke about the Obama award, or about the Obama nominee earlier. Is there something else that comes to mind where you have a success story that you would typically use as marketing or promotional material or inspirational material?
I do. So there is a young woman named Grayson who had contemplated putting on a conference for a youth conference for reproductive rights in Chicago, which had never been done. And her freshman year, she wanted to do it, but imposter syndrome came up. Her sophomore year, she wanted to do it, but imposter syndrome came up. Her junior year, she did DemocraShe. And she not only had an encouraging sisterhood cheering her on, she not only had the launch pad plan, because every girl who leaves the 10-week program completes a launch pad plan of the next step she's going to take as a leader. So
Yeah.
she had a chance to think it through. But she had an inner best friend who said, you can absolutely do this. I believe in you. And she turned it into an actual conference. And her second year, when she returned as a DemocraShe leader, she ran the conference again. Not only did the lieutenant governor come to speak at her conference, but Gary, 55 girls wrote her emails that they were so inspired by the conference that they wanted to start reproductive rights efforts at their own school. And that is the dream of DemocraShe. Is not
Yeah,
only does it motivate you and give you the skills to get engaged in your own school and community, but that has a ripple effect on
absolutely.
everyone around you. And so seeing Grayson shift from having wanted to do this, but the inner critic being so loud that she could never get it off the ground,
Yeah.
to the supportive sisterhood and the specific skills that helped her launch a conference that has become so successful is something where I think that's the dream, right? We want young women to step confidently into leadership, past the inner critic, and make that change that they envision for their schools and communities because we underestimate young people. They are amazing. And so
Yeah.
I think of Grayson and those 55 girls, and I think that's the dream.
Incredible. And to compound the ripple effect, the bravery of those 55 girls to reach out. I know as an educator and conference speaker for many a year, that's brave in and of itself. If someone walks up to you afterwards and stands in a queue and waits to talk to you, just or ask a question or offer a guidance or advice or an opinion or something like that, that's quite rare. You know, some people just kind of they'll take the material, they'll write it down, they'll shuffle away, and you never hear from them again. And I guarantee that there's more than those 55 women that have been inspired to take some action. They just haven't had the wherewithal or the courage or the inspiration to message Grayson and say thank you. This is what I'm going to do. That's a phenomenal story and such great, genuinely meaningful, impactful work that's being tackled by these young women as well. And maybe some of the 55 might end up branching out to something else that's equally as important and needs a voice and needs a platform and needs help and support to do too. You must well, I was going to say you must be so thrilled and inspired by this, but that's me being assumptive, I should say, of how you feel. How do you feel as you see this flourish, Sarah?
I feel hopeful. I think things can be pretty dark. And some of the things we talk about in DemocraShe, very unironically with the girls, are radical hope and radical joy and radical love, all of which are also the voice of the inner best friend, right?
Yeah,
But I think continuing to see that we can and will be better, we can and will be united, we can and will be a place of hope. When I see the girls bringing that light into the world, that makes me hopeful. And I think when I was working in politics and thinking of working on particular elections, and elections are incredibly important, like, please, everybody vote. And thinking, I want to flood our future with intelligent, empathetic, confident, resilient young women who are making decisions in every area where decisions are being made. And as you mentioned in the beginning, know that running for office is their birthright, that we
yeah,
need more women in elected office, and they have the skills to opt in, and they have the skills to protect themselves when they receive the pushback that we know they receive. So it truly makes me continue to hold on to hope. And something I heard once is hope is not a feeling, hope is a choice.
yes.
And I think I choose hope every day because I believe in these girls.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. It must take an incredible amount of energy and effort and concentration to do the important work that you do, Sarah. And what I like to do is take an opportunity to ask every guest, what's one regular practice that Sarah employs to give you the best opportunity to be the best version, the most hopeful version every single day?
So I still have a tremendous amount of pain and fatigue. right? And that can feel very overwhelming.
Mhm.
When I first managed to get off the couch, it was just get in the car. Because when I think to myself, I'm going to go register a voter, that was too overwhelming and it would make me freeze.
Mhm.
So it was just get in the car. So I still use that practice. It's even as small as just turn on the computer and then we can see how we feel, right?
Yeah.
Just answer one email. And before you know it, you've actually accomplished a tremendous amount. But I think when I think to myself about the work day I have ahead, I get flooded and overwhelmed. And that's, some of the grounding techniques we were talking about. We
Yeah.
ground with Mother Earth, who's always beneath your feet, right? Always has your back. And I think just take it a step at a time,
Yeah.
one step. And then if that's all I can do today because I am too exhausted and in too much pain, that's okay. That has to be okay. If that step is what I do today, that's okay. And then tomorrow we'll try another.
Yeah. And some days will be better than other days, and the celebration of the attempt, the progress that was made, you're closer towards your goal, your dreams at any given point in time. That's a tremendous life lesson for anyone out there who maybe even isn't experiencing chronic pain or difficulties or things that are holding them back too. Just absolutely inspiring. Just such an incredible story. Before I let you go, Sarah, where can people find out more about you and about DemocraShe?
Yes. So DemocraShe is at democrashe.org. There are abilities to be mentors to the girls. The application is there. Of course, the donate button, which I would be remiss if I did not mention. I am on LinkedIn at Sarah Jakle, and I recently launched an Instagram account called Inner Best Friend because it's been so impactful for so many of the girls, and I want to spread it to more people. So check us out.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I was so looking forward to this conversation from the very first time we had a chance to chat, Sarah, and it's been an absolute wealth of information and absolute inspiration as well. Thank you very, very much for all the very important work that you're doing. Please keep going. Please let me know how I can help at any point in the future. And thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. And Gary, thank you one more time for the beautiful way you show up for the female students in your class.
It's my pleasure. Hello again. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode, and I do hope that you found it valuable and gained some insights. I do have an ask for you. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would absolutely love it if you would connect with me on my socials, and that's at LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search for my name and do whatever it is you need to do there to follow me and stay updated with all the latest content, tips, and discussions. And for any more resources that you're looking for, feel free to visit my website, garygillen.com. And while you're there, you can book a free, no obligation 30-minute coaching call directly with me through the site. Whether you're looking to enhance your performance or tackle a new challenge, I'm absolutely here to help you succeed, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. Thanks very much again, and until next time, keep pushing towards your goals and getting better each and every day, my friend.